separate the real from the fake. See, we got to get back to love. If we get back to love, then that's when we're going to get back to us.
It seems like it's never enough. And what do you say when you're...
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of People Empowerment, where we strive to change the conditions in our community. Today, as with every show, we're going to get down to some serious topics, some serious questions, and some serious answers. Talk about some problems and talk about some solutions. Today, my guest is Sergio Rodriguez, who's running for mayor. How you doing, Sergio?
Great, Nate. Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you back on the show. We got some serious questions, and we're certainly going to ask Sergio about them. Also, as always, we extend the invitation to the mayor to please come on the show, to please talk about the issues at hand before the mayoral race on November the 5th. Hopefully you'll be able to make it in, sir. But until then, we still have one side of the story, so if we only have one side of the story, that's the story that we're going to have to tell to the people. So again, I appreciate you being here, Sergio.
The pleasure is mine.
Okay, great. Also, before we start, I'd just like to mention for a fact that we are under a government shutdown right now. It's been going on for over a week. And I would say to everybody out there that hopefully you can contact your congressman, try to ask these people who are in power to do something about this, to come together, to work together, to keep America safe. We got the debt limit coming up. God forbid that they don't work something out on that. So, you know, America is at stake. Our viability is at stake. So we would ask that the government would please work together to resolve these issues. Now we're going to talk about some issues going on here in Buffalo. So, as I said, we have Sergio Rodriguez back here today, and we're going to talk about some serious issues. Serge, we're going to get right to it. You know, we only have a half an hour.
That's right.
So the first thing I wanted to address with you was crime and safety, if you don't mind, in Buffalo. It's a serious thing. As you know, over the past week, more shootings, more killings. And I mean, this is happening all over the city. It's not just the east side. You know, it's the east side, west side, stabbings downtown. I mean, you know, crime it seems like violent crime is about to reach an all-time high. So could you give me your comments on that, please?
Well, yes, Nate. Look, over the weekend, we actually had 2 separate cases where 5 people got shot. One of them died on Sunday, actually. And so we're seeing this more and more. In fact, right now we're at 34 homicides for the year in the city of Buffalo. You have to look at it in terms of, in 2011, we had a total of 36. That means 2 more homicides, and we reached what we had in all of 2011. So we are facing an epidemic. We have to address the issue of crime in an aggressive manner. The idea is not to put people in jail, but connect with the community. The biggest problem we have right now is that there's a disconnect between police officers and the community they serve. We have men and women in uniform that do the best that they can to serve our community, but the structure is failing them. Why? Because you don't have police officers walking the beat, getting to know people. You have police officers that unfortunately find themselves with no other alternative but to drive down the street, and you miss that connection, that community connection we used to have. So I think one way to go in the right direction is by having police officers walking the streets, making sure that they're connecting with neighbors and the community that they hired to serve. Otherwise, there's no reason to think that things are going to change all of a sudden.
Okay, Sergio, just to stay on that, you talk about more police foot patrols. But what about the relations between the community and the police officers? You know, I was just recently in a situation, and I feel like I was abused by the police. You know, so I'm just wondering, you know, if me, an older gentleman like myself, who was calm, courteous, felt like I've been abused by the police, then how, you know, so how should our young people feel who don't even know how to talk to the police as I know how to talk?
Oh, you know what? The thing is that our youth right now, they don't see the connection. The only time that they have an experience with a police officer in today's environment is when the police officer responds to a criminal activity, and in many cases that means they have to make an arrest and put them in jail. In other cases, is when a police officer has to issue a ticket for a particular violation. And we see the roadblocks everywhere, which, by the way, I don't think roadblocks are effective. I think that's just another way to put people that are already in a bad financial situation into a deeper hole. I run into people all the time. Of course, they would like to get their axle fixed, but they're learning that they have to pay $1,500 so they can make improvements on their vehicle, and they're making $8 an hour at a McDonald's or at a different type of job. So putting these barriers on the streets, I think it's just making a bad situation even worse. We have to start building bridges. How do we do that? How does the youth and people like yourself or myself, how do we begin to trust police officers as I did growing up? You know, I had the benefit that I did see police officers walking around the streets, getting to know people. We must get them out there. The fact is we spent $11 million last year in overtime. That's so that some of our police officers retire with, in many cases, $125,000 annual pension. So it contributes to our legacy costs, and we're stuck with the bill. Now, if we instead reduced overtime and use those monies to hire new police officers fresh out of the academy to go out there and walk the beat, walk the streets, then you start seeing a police officer, you looking at them in a very different way. You're looking at them as human beings, and they look at you in the same regard. So anything we can do to encourage police officers to actually get to know the community and go out there and get to know us, we must do. We don't have any other alternative. If we keep going in the same route, the only experience that our youth has is when a police officer issues a ticket, puts somebody in jail, and in some cases, there's harassment. We must encourage them to walk the beat. We must.
Okay, and just to stay on that subject and to get a little touchy with this question, but I believe that people need to know, is that when you come into a situation where we find that officers are literally abusing their position and abusing the citizens, what is a position that you would take on them when it can be verified that these actions actually took place? Because I know the last time we were talking about the cams, the cameras,
The dash
inside
cams.
the dash cams, and I like that idea. Could you elaborate a little
Oh
more?
yeah, look, installing dash cams on vehicles reduces litigation costs. Here's why. Because now when you have cases of abuse, this is recorded, and that can be used in the court of law as evidence. And so now when you have a situation where a citizen is making accusations against the police officers, now we have factual evidence right there that's recorded that we can use either to protect the police officers, because in some cases, let's face it, we do have residents that make frivolous claims. That
Yes,
happens,
of
right?
course, of course.
And it works the other way around too. When somebody feels like they're being abused, and this evidence can be used to assist in their case. So that's one way that we can start doing, moving in the right direction. In my opinion, if a police officer is stepping out of their role as a police officer and abusing people, we find that is the case, we need to calm down on them hard, because they are there to uphold the law. And any sign of abuse of that power, we must come down on them hard, because they're there to, if anyone should lead by example, it's our police officers. So in respects to that, yeah, I mean, if we see that there's a violation, we need to go on it really hard. But we should also protect our police officers when there's incidents of frivolous claims, which actually happens.
It actually does happen, but I'm glad to know that you will be willing to do that, because I believe that citizens need to be able to know that if they are abused, there's somewhere that they can turn and actually have something happen, because then it would actually help to take away the fear from the citizens of the police.
Well, you know what? One thing that I'm going to implement when I get into office is the concept of a public advocacy office. Now, what we essentially have here is an office who will be responsible for addressing the needs of the public. So, for example, if you have a situation with a police officer or any city employee in any department, you go to the public advocate, who, by the way, will be elected by the people. This is not an appointed position because even
okay.
the mayor should be held accountable by this public advocate and anyone. So by creating that, you actually have a balance of power where you can hold one side accountable, and the public advocates should go out there and make sure that they're serving in the best interest of the public. So I think that'll help
awesome.
reduce a lot of the angst that people have, the distrust that people have with government.
That's awesome.
Is by going to the
That's
public
awesome.
advocacy office.
Public
Say, I had an
advocacy.
issue with police officer so-and-so, or when I went to the city department, I had an issue with that, or when I went to the mayor's office, this is the issue I had. And they're there to serve and protect you. Again, it's important that people understand this must not be an appointed position. The moment you do that, it becomes politicized, and they're no longer beholden to the people. They're beholden to whoever appointed them there.
So then you would have a special election where the citizens could vote on
Exactly,
the public advocate. That's
for a
awesome.
public advocate.
For a public-
and the
oh,
public's
that's
the
awesome.
public advocate's role, their sole purpose, is to protect and serve the public.
Wow.
And nothing
That's
else.
awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. I'm sure the public would like that. That's a very exciting prospect. Now, I'd like to, I know we talked about this last week. I just want to touch bases on it really quick, is education.
Yes.
And your manorial control, because I had some comments, people asked me some comments about how that will work. And one of the specific questions that they asked me was, well, if the mayor does, when he becomes mayor, if he does become mayor and he takes over, how will he enact that control, and will you keep the common council, will you keep the board members, the city board members, the school board members?
That's a great question. I think, Nate, what we have to first acknowledge is that the existing structure, the existing system that we have in place is not serving anyone. We've had it for decades, and all we've seen is a decline in graduation rates. So going in the same direction and expecting different results, it's insanity. We must try something that works. What works is mayoral control of the education system, where someone seeks accountability and is held accountable for the success or failure of the education system. Look, but the beautiful thing is that we have this model in other cities right here in the state of New York. The city of Yonkers. The city of Yonkers has a 72% graduation rate. And when did that start going up? In 2005, when the mayor took control over the education system. It went up 19 percentage points since then. Now, the other example is the biggest education system in the entire country, New York City. Michael Bloomberg assumed control of the education system in 2002, and guess what? It too went up by 19 percentage points. The graduation rate in New York City is now 64% under mayoral control.
So are you,
Yes.
so I'm sorry, okay, so are
Sure.
you saying that you would keep the board as it exists, and you would, the specific question is, would you keep the board, and how would you work with them? And you had talked in the last show about pay increases, giving them enough money to make it a full-time position. So is that working hand in hand?
I would keep a board. Would I keep the existing board? I would have to vet each of the existing board members to
Okay.
see, if indeed we need to keep some of them in place, right? Because we know it's a dysfunctional board, so we cannot have the same people in place and expect different results. So we're going to have to look at whether we should maintain some of them and do away with some of the school board members. Now, the other thing is, yes, right now the only incentive that we provide for school board members to prioritize this massive, complex, billion-dollar education system is a $5,000 annual stipend. So, in essence, what we have here is we have residents telling school board members, make this your number one priority for a $5,000 annual stipend. Now, the problem with that is that many of these school board members have to work a regular job during the day. So we're asking these school board members to make informed decisions on their off time, on weekends and after work. So what happens is many of the school board members don't make informed decisions. So I propose that we have full salaried school board members so that they're making smart decisions.
That's their only
This is
job.
yes, this is a $1 billion system. Look, we pay common council members a full-time salary, and they oversee a significantly smaller budget than the school system. So it makes sense that if we're going to hire these individuals to oversee this very massive, complex education system, that they are doing this on a full-time basis.
And it absolutely makes sense. Listen, everybody, we're going to take a pause for the cause for a minute. We're going to take a little break, and then we'll be right back. So until then, just keep paying attention, keep your eyes open, and don't change that channel. We'll be right back.
Beach all slurred, complaining his arms numb. He called everyone. He even called my daughter Tiara, because, you know, she's got a year of nursing. Everyone thinks he needs to go to the doctor, including me. So he said, well, will you take me? I'm like, I'm on the road. He goes, I'll wait. Stroke's no joke. If you or someone you love have symptoms of stroke, don't wait. It may be too late. Dial 911. Time loss is brain loss.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with Sergio Rodriguez, who's running for mayor. And as I understand it, you can go to the polls and you can pick him on the progressive line. Is that right, sir?
Well, yes, I guess what it's important for the public to understand is that, you know, right now we look at candidates in terms of Republicans and Democrats, right? I'm not running as the Republican candidate. I have an independent line called the Progressive Party line, which is designed as an entirely independent line, free from the influences of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So we view the Progressive Party line as the People's Party. So if anyone out there is interested in voting for the person and not for the party, then vote for me on the, I would ask him to vote for me on the Progressive Party line.
Okay, that's pretty understanding. So, and just the word progressive itself, you know what I mean, exemplifies the fact that we are progressing. You know, we are metamorphosizing to a better spot, to a more unified position. Progressive. I like that. Now, I'd like to talk about job creation and economic development, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely.
So could you talk a little bit about that?
Issue. Well, you know what? Most people that I speak with out there, you know, yes, education is top of mind. Making sure that their children are receiving a proper education is critical. And then obviously their safety is a very important issue. They need to feel safe. And with a lot of the homicides and shootings that we see in the streets nowadays, it's tough for a lot of people to justify staying in the city under those circumstances. But jobs, that's the other big issue that we're facing. We have the highest unemployment rate in the city of Buffalo in over 20 years, while the Buffalo-Niagara region has the lowest unemployment rate in 5 years. So what we're seeing is that the region as a whole, when you factor in the suburbs, they haven't seen better days in over 5 years. They're
Really?
actually doing great. And you can just look at the traffic going downtown going downtown. It's coming from where?
Suburbs.
The suburbs. We see that every single day. So people are choosing to work in the city, but they're deliberately choosing to live in the suburbs. Why is that? Primarily because of the dysfunctional education system. Nobody wants to put their kids through an education system that cannot even graduate half of the students. And they also don't want to put their lives at risk. They need a sense of safety. So how do we address this issue of jobs and economic development in the city of Buffalo for city residents? Because
Yes.
let's look. I believe that the current administration is doing a great job for people that live outside of the city. There are jobs in the city of Buffalo. It's just that they're not going to city of Buffalo residents. In fact, we've lost over 10,000 jobs since the current administration got elected in the city, while everyone around us is benefiting from what's happening downtown. City residents are not. Well, the first thing we have to look at is some of the job creation that in fact exists. So we're looking at the construction field downtown, and we see that we have about a 4% women and minority representation. 4% in a city where 49% of the population are minorities. And so how do we justify that? How can we say the next time there's a shooting that it's on them, right? That when you see drug dealers on street corners selling their product, that we hold it against them when we're not even giving them a shot. Look, the best way to stop a bullet is with a job. So we have to get our city residents jobs. It just so happens that we have federal guidelines, state guidelines, that specifically stipulate that we should hire around 27% women and minority representation in the construction field. So there's no effort out there to ensure that we're meeting these goals. So one way to start getting the city on the right track is by employing these people. If we don't give our youth a job, then they're going to turn to the next thing that they can get, in the next way they can put money in their pockets. And in some cases, the only other alternative is to hustle on street corners.
Drugs, robbery, and such.
Drugs, yes.
Now, let me say to you that, a lot of things I have heard from the administration and such is that people aren't qualified for these construction jobs. But let me say to you, I have worked for several construction companies in my life. I started off as a laborer. Now, what do you need to be a laborer in a construction job? All you need to do is get the safety rules, and then they give you the equipment, especially demolition construction. Right. You know what I mean? It's like you just follow the instructions, and you get the job done. It's like with anybody who doesn't know a particular job. Once you show me how to do it, just like once you teach me how to fish, I can fish for a lifetime. Once you show me how to do this, it can be done. So they try to use that reason that the people can't work down at these jobs because they're unqualified and it's hogwash. And these people down there are making $30, $40, upwards of $40 an hour.
Oh yes.
Why shouldn't we be a part of that?
It's a myth. Look, the proposition that some people make that somehow we don't have trained and certified women and minorities to work in the construction field, it's a myth. This is simply not true. Here's why it's not true. There is a place called the Outsource Center on Fillmore Avenue, right on the east side of Buffalo. It was founded by Mr. Gaskin 5 years ago, specifically to train and certify women and minorities to work in the construction field. Now, here's the problem. When Mr. Gaskin went to the administration, the current administration, to seek help and to open the door so that the people that he's training and certifying could work in the job development that's happening downtown, they got nothing. They only got the doors shut right in their face. So here we are on one hand saying, look, they're not trained and certified, so we can't have them work in the construction field. And then we have an organization that was created specifically to address this issue. And the moment they're training and certifying these individuals to work in the construction field, nothing happens. We're not giving them any chances, any opportunities. So to those that propose that somehow women and minorities are not trained and certified to work in the construction field, and that's the reason why there's such a disparity, I got news for you. Talk to the Outsource Center and ask them if they agree with that. Serge,
it's important that you bring this up, and this is important why people should know out there. Myself and some other organizations, CA organization as well as BUILD organization, Independent Producers Alliance of the Apollo, and hopefully some other people getting on board, we have created a job march. Yep, it's a march for jobs. And the march is going to be taking place on October the 29th. We'll be meeting at Main and Court at Lafayette Square. We'll have a small short rally then, and then we'll proceed together as one to City Hall. Okay, and when we get to City Hall, hopefully we can get the powers that be to come out and have a conversation with us. Hopefully that's going to happen, but the main thing is I would say to you that if you need a job, if you know someone that needs a job, if your child needs a job, if you need a better job, if you're interested in working downtown in the construction field and the things that are going on, you need to come out and let your voice be heard, because we're going to have this march on City Hall and we're going to say to them, please give us our fair share. We're not asking for any handouts. Please let us work. Give us our fair share. And so I think that's so important that people be aware of this job march. This job march, again, is taking place October 29th, 2 p.m., Lafayette Square, Main and Court. You need to be there. You need to tell everybody you know, If they don't have a job, if they're unemployed, you ain't got nothing to do anyway. So you might as well come on down there and be a part of this march so we can find a way to talk to the administration, to get them to hear our voice and to share in some of that work that's going on downtown so we can truly say that Buffalo is growing, you know. And so again, I have asked you, you know, if you have time, you know, to come down, you know,
Nate,
maybe you'll
I
be
can
able to
tell
give a
you,
couple words. But
I'm looking
you know,
forward to attending this. I started seeing flyers all over the city
they're going
announcing
up.
this. So I think this is a calling and something that we need to react to. So you can count on me being there. I know that other organizations that I've talked to mentioned that they're going to be there as well. So I think this is going to be a historic movement here in the city of Buffalo.
yeah, well, organizations are getting involved because, you know, it's just important. Like I say, we aren't asking for anything that we don't have a right to. We do have a right to feed our families.
Absolutely.
We do have a right to feed our kids. We do have a right to give our kids the impression that we will work so they can identify with us working instead of us not working. So many of us being unemployed, and there's so much work going on. Like you say, regionally, unemployment is going down, but in the city, unemployment is on the rise and people are living. So, you know, there's got to be an equilibrium in there somewhere, and we really want to send a message to the administration that hopefully that they'll work with us. And, you know, and in the end, after everything is resolved, we hope that whoever is in the administration will work with the people, you know what I mean, and try to change what's going on for the citizens in our community.
Oh, that's
So,
key.
you know.
Look, what we have to remind ourselves is that the mayor is the mayor of Buffalo, and he's here to protect, to serve the best interest of Buffalo residents. And right now, there's too much of an emphasis on the waterfront, and which I think is great. We need to maintain that type of development, right? But the thing is that, you know, this is not much more than entertainment for people that live outside of the city, and that's so great. We want to bring people downtown. I love what's going down at the waterfront. I truly do. I love what's going downtown. But city residents must benefit from the jobs that are being created for this.
You know, city residents should benefit from it. And I've actually, you know, I've heard that there are some city residents that are benefiting from it. And that's why, again, why I would extend myself to the mayor and I would say, please, Mr. Mayor, come on a television show, talk to the community about what's going on. Just as Mr. Rodriguez has come down, you know, to talk to us about what's going on, I would say, you know, please come down here and talk to the people and let them know what's going on, because when you only have one side of a story, that's all you can tell is one side of a story. You know, I'm a journalist, I want to be fair and I want to be balanced, but I'm still going to get the story out there, whether it's one side or two. So again, I would extend to you, Mr. Mayor, to come on the show, talk about what's going on, you know. And again, and Sergio, I would tell you that you have an open invitation until the mayor's race is completed to come back on the show if you would like, and talk to about the issues. Let us know how the campaign is moving. Let us know how you're going on. I'm sure the public is very interested, you know what I mean? This show is called People Empowerment. People are empowered by information. You know, people are empowered by dialogue. And you know, it would be a great thing if I could really get both of you guys in here.
Look, I've challenged the mayor to have a debate with me, and he refuses to do so. So I'm not sure, you know, if you're confident about what you're going to do for the city of Buffalo, then you should fear nothing.
You know, I agree with you, and we're in the final seconds. We're closing out the show. So again, Mr. Mayor, it'd be great to have both of you guys come here and have a conversation. Think about that. Until then, this is Nate Boyd from People Empowerment telling you, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention.